I think it's very important to say that, and I know this now, that if you're on any diet, certainly the carnivore, it is a journey. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether it's in golf. It doesn't matter whether it's in diet. It's you have to understand that you are on a journey, and you can get better. If I'm honest, I might as well say this. This is where I'd say a huge difference between veganism and carnivorism is that.
Richard, how did you find carnivore?
Well, Dave, good question. I think I started with Dr. Berg, I think it was. I mean, obviously, I've had some pretty serious health issues, and I've always been looking, I've probably always been interested in diet ever since I can ever remember, going back years to the narrative that is, I can always remember that I was always didn't eat red meat, chicken and fish. That was my thing, and vegetables, 8 tons of vegetables, because that's what I was told to do. But anyway, as time goes on, this is from a kid. I'm talking about from a kid. That's how I remember it. But as time goes on, I got sicker and sicker, and I've suffered with some pretty serious illness. But anyway, so having survived several operations and doing all this sort of thing, obviously I'm still one of these people that try to look for solutions. I'm trying to understand everything, trying to find ways out of things, trying to get healthier. I was struggling with my health all the time, ever since I was a kid, literally. And so what I did, I guess I wasn't much of a YouTuber, but my missus was. She used to watch a lot of YouTube, but I never did. I didn't really know what she was even doing at the time, I guess. And she started to watch some of these Dr. Berg things. And he's not carnivore. He's kind of, I don't know what you call Dr. Berg. He's a nutritionist type guy anyway, giving health advice. And I liked it. It was, yeah, I got a bit interested, and I started to look at things. And I think obviously early on we started to go keto, more and more keto. We were just normal eaters at that stage, what we considered the narrative, what's a healthy diet, all the things that, but slowly, I guess I got, there was probably yourself, Dave, Dr. Berry, Dr. Shafee, people like that I started to slowly listen to as these things, come up on YouTube. And I think probably what really sort of uh, made a bit of sense to me really was I'd always been very anti-red meat. That would be something that, that's what we were brought up on. Oh, red meat's bad. And all of a sudden, you got a couple of seemingly pretty respectable doctors and yourself saying, no, it's not. Carnivore actually is red meat is something that's really healthy. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. I've been gone on this journey where I just eat chicken and fish and vegetables and you'll be fine. And I wasn't. I so clearly wasn't. And you started to, the sort of penny sort of starts to drop. And you think, hang on a minute, if that's what's been told to me, um, maybe they've led me wrong. And I suppose because, as it says here, the crazy golf pro, I've been on a very similar journey in golf, and found that certain things weren't the right leading me in the right direction. So I guess I already had that suspicion of the industry of general life. The narrative of life isn't really, I guess you're starting to think the narrative of life isn't necessarily true as we would like to think it is. We're all led to this, we go through school and we're led to think in certain ways, and we're led to think this is right, this is wrong, this is that. And I suppose I'd start to question so many things. So as soon as some of these guys came up, I started to think, well, crikey, these guys are really, they might be onto something. So then I sort of started to understand this thing about. I mean, I'm not very good on all the technical language. I'll tell you that now. It's not my thing. I'm absolutely rubbish on all the technical details, but that I was listening to how you get your body into ketosis and all this, and how it gets on the brain, and how this helps your brain and all these sort of things. So anyway, cutting a long story short, I'd now gone into the keto diet, and now I was listening to Dr. Berry and Dr. Shafee, who, by the way, I should say, I think are brilliant, both of them. And I guess I realized that they were doing the same thing as me. They were trying to, they'd broken away from the establishment, and they were thinking for themselves, which people rarely do. We just seem to follow like sheep. But they actually were thinking, and they come up with a very, very different solution, which apparently has been around for hundreds of years anyway, or thousands or whatever. But I kind of admired that, because I guess I'm doing the same thing in the golfing industry. I should say that. But yeah, that was, I started eating carnivore as a result of listening to these guys. And I thought, well, I've got to give this a try. I mean, I've tried everything anyway. I've been eating what they say in the narrative, the chicken and the fish and all this, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So I've got to try carnivore. So that's exactly what both me and the missus had a go at. And straight away, I think pretty quickly, we felt quite a bit different. Things really changed. I mean, considering how sick really I was, a lot of people wouldn't have known that I was that sick, but I've been through some pretty massive surgery, heart problems, and I think as people, they just assumed, oh, he's got it fixed now and he's fine, and it certainly wasn't that. That wasn't the case. I barely survived. I was very lucky to survive my last surgery. I've been through two spells, and it was literally touch and go. I was in hospital for 8 weeks, but I was getting by. Yes, I was up and I looked okay-ish, but I can tell you now, Dave, I didn't feel that well. I consistently felt unwell. That was the problem. It was a struggle. Every single day was quite a struggle. But as soon as I turned to carnivore, and certainly been on it for a while, and your body goes into ketosis and all this sort of stuff, I started to feel so much better. My energy levels changed. I just felt better. I mean, there was no question about it. And I think if that's what your body's telling you, that you feel better, I know that there's still a long way to go on this journey. Yes, I understand that, and I want to keep learning. I do, and I still have issues. I can't say, oh God, I'm a perfectly healthy human being now, because I've had a lot of issues. I mean, one of the things that I'm still struggling with a bit, but it's all become pretty obvious to me now. I mean, I think one of the things that probably the message that I would like to say to anyone, I think we've grown up with this idea that, when you say, oh, he's born with autism or something, what bad luck. And, oh, she's got cancer and she's got Alzheimer's. Oh, terrible. And she's got this autoimmune disease, and, or they've got heart disease, and, oh, what bad luck. And it's kind of this sort of, we've grown up with it. It's just inevitable. And it's down to our genes. And this is normal to have diseases like this. We've grown up with that narrative, thinking, oh, everything's okay. And I don't know why everybody, it's so wrong. I can see that so clearly now, and we got to jump out of this. This is not right. We're not designed to have these diseases. We're not. It's just a sheer indication of the fact that we're doing something wrong. And every single day, and this is a great thing about the carnivore, I do have to say this, because basically I eat just meat now. I don't eat anything else. It's the most simple diet you can ever have. It's ridiculously simple. And what happens is, if I don't feel particularly well, say one day, if I wake up, it starts to become pretty easy to narrow it down. You've done something wrong. It's just your body saying, mate, you haven't done this right. That's the problem. And so when you're eating a like, oh, you got to eat a balanced diet, bit of this, bit of that, people, what a load of nonsense. I mean, it's just a narrative that we've been brought up on, that everybody assumes is right, and it's not. And when you are eating that way, of course you don't know what you've done wrong. You'd have no idea. But with the carnivore, you do, and you start to narrow it down. Now, I mean, one of my ongoing things that I do suffer with, like I said, my energy levels have changed. I feel like a completely different person, but I still have a problem. I've got a hiatus hernia that I've had for God knows how many years, well over 20, 30 years. I can't remember. And of course, the doctors never said I mean, they still to this day don't tell me how to deal with it. They just give me some, what are they called, PPIs or something like that, a tablet where which is terrible side effects, by the way, which I took for years and years and years. And that's it. And of course, there's all kinds of solutions. Now, the carnivore diet I know is the best diet for um, is the best diet for GERD, what you call acid reflux and stuff like that. And of course, it has helped me a lot in that respect. But I do believe that I mean, I've had this hiatus hernia for such a long time now that it's potentially got worse. So I have to be a little more careful. And I'm going to be slowly cutting out things that I think could potentially aggravate it, of course. And it's easy on the on this diet. Now, one of the things I'm drinking one right now is coffee, for example. Now I've got to cut down on coffee, caffeinated drinks, and things like this. So that's something that I'm going to be looking at. I sometimes eat cheese at night. That would be a disaster, I think, to potentially acid reflux, things like that. Which you can eat cheese on the carnivore diet, but then you look at things. Sorry, I'm going on a bit, Dave. You can stop me at any time here. um, but you look at things like, the type of cheese, because the more you go into carnivore, and of course, it's fantastic because there's plenty of doctors there that will support you. There's plenty of people like yourself, Dave, that will give you support when you're doing things wrong. And you see some of the things. I liked a bit of cheese. Yes, I did in the evening, perhaps with a bit of meat or something like this. But of course, the cheese that we were using, learnt this yesterday off one of the carnivore doctors, um, is not very good cheese. It's too processed food, really. And you've got to look at, potentially, if you're going to eat cheese, you've got to look at some of the older and more fermented type cheeses. So that's something I learned just yesterday. And now I've been doing carnivore now for, I think it's about 10 months, if I had to guess. And, I'm still learning. And like I said, the narrative that I now have and the way that you should be feeling, whether it's regards to golf, it's regards to health, it's regards to everything, this idea that it's inevitable that we're crap at golf or it's inevitable that we're unhealthy is wrong. It's just plain wrong. It's something that we've been brought up to believe, and doctors actually keep us in that narrative, which is another thing that I realize it's a terrible, terrible thing to say, and I probably shouldn't be saying this on a live on a channel, but I've talk about lose faith in doctors. They kept me in a narrative that as is just keeping me unhealthy, treating the symptoms, not looking at the root cause of things. And it's actually the opposite. I just don't understand why we don't start doing this. Why don't we look at the root cause? And of course, you know, eating carnivore is, I mean, I'm not saying, well, it is kind of the perfect diet, yes, to some degree, but of course, there's going to be tweaks to it. But, it's a very easy diet. I don't think, I know that there's healthy vegans out there. Yes, I'm sure there are. But that is incredibly tricky to negotiate, to try and get the right kind of nutrients inside your body that's going to keep you in some sort of healthy state. I've seen it. It's rife, it's rife at the moment for all kinds of reasons, but I've seen people getting cancer and autoimmune diseases from vegans, not from carnivores, I wouldn't say, because the carnivore diet obviously is a way that we're more designed. Our bodies are more designed to be eating meat, and it's easier for us to get the right kind of nutrients through meat, as I've learned and as I've felt, because I feel so much better. Yes, it is easier for us to get that um, just by eating meat. It doesn't mean to say it's absolutely perfect. It doesn't mean to say that we can't learn more. We'd learn more about intermittent fasting. We could learn more about eating some fermented foods. That's something I'm going to potentially introduce. I don't really want to eat vegetables anymore because, well, I don't have a great reaction to it. And I think from what I'm learning, is we don't really grow vegetables in any kind of useful way anymore. Anyway, vegetables are evolving and becoming more poisonous anyway. All these things, I just wouldn't want to eat a vegetable. It's not necessary. You don't need to do it, and I've lost trust in them completely. I'm not saying there isn't potential. Meat's not necessarily perfect. Yes, they pump them full of antibiotics, but apparently it's nowhere near as bad. And the cow's got 4 stomachs to go through, or whatever it is. It's watered down. It's nowhere near as bad. So it's definitely, I would say, carnivore is the best diet for the majority of people.
Just to emphasize one of the points that you raised there about how everyone assumes these days everything's inevitable. Oh, you got cancer, it's inevitable. Oh, you got this, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with you. We shouldn't be treating it like that. You know, when babies are learning to walk and they fall over, you don't go, oh, well, you're useless. You know, that was inevitable that you weren't going to be able to walk. Well, forget about you, right? The baby gets to stand up again and try again and try again and try again. We don't kind of just write things off because, oh, well, it wasn't perfect first time. But that seems to be what we do with medical conditions and things like that these days. It's like, well, we can't treat the symptoms. Well, you know, it's just inevitable. You were probably going to get this disease.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's we've sort of slipped into that narrative where, I mean, I know people with autoimmune disease, with MS, with all kinds of different things. What's the other one where you lose your mind? I can't think of the name of it now. Um,
Dementia or Alzheimer's.
Dementia and all that sort of stuff. And we just think it's a normal part. Oh, we're getting older, or it's bad genes. And I've learned that it's so not. This idea that this is just something that we've been fed. I don't know what it's all about, but this is the information that, well, it's just bad luck. It's not bad luck. It's actually telling you that you're not doing things right. You're not getting the right kind of nutrients in your body, and it's going to come out in some kind of problem, some kind of disease, whatever that might be. And I think that, as I understand it, Dave, is that it's if we're doing something wrong, we're not getting the right kind of nutrients in our body, it's going to come up. In other words, every disease is the same. It doesn't matter whether it's cancer, heart disease, autoimmune disease, whatever it is. They're all the same. They're as a result of not getting the right nutrients in the body. And according to our body makeup and genes, then we'll decide how it comes out. In other words, it's I should have had cancer, really, what I was feeding into my body and some of the things that I'm doing. But obviously, my body's not set up to have cancer at the moment, touch wood. But it came out in another way. It came out in heart disease. That's how my body decided to steer, because I wasn't getting the nutrients. That's what happened. I wasn't putting the right kind of stuff into my body, and so it comes out that way. It could have come out in an autoimmune disease. It could have come out in all kinds of ways, but it's just a result of not putting the right nutrients in your body. That's what I would say.
Mm. Mm. So just on that, you've been carnivore 10 months. What keeps you going on carnivore? What is it that has improved that makes you want to stay this way?
Oh, everything's improved. I mean, I'm a skinny guy anyway, funnily enough, it's I lost quite a lot of weight. I can't remember exactly what it was now. It might have been as much as 10 kilos, but I was already skinny. I just can't remember exactly what it was, but it was quite a bit, considering I was such a skinny guy. And it was almost a bit alarming in the beginning. But as I've learned, then what happens is my body stabilized and it's exactly the same. It just never changes anymore. But I was losing what's called visceral fat, I believe the word is. And I was also losing water and things like this out of my body. It was just um, it's a process that often goes. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but it certainly happened to me. So I lost a lot of weight. Not that that was a goal, and even now people say, "Oh, you're much too skinny," and I realise that I'm not. I'm more the weight that I was designed to be. That's all it is. And of course, people we've grown up again in this society. Unless you're a little bit plump, they think you're too skinny. Just the fact that I'm. That's what we do. It's something that we've grown to get used to. So what was I going to say? But yeah, what keeps me going is I feel quite different. I do feel different overall. My energy levels have changed. Um, I think it's very important to say that, and I know this now, that if you're on any diet, certainly the carnivore, it is a journey. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether it's in golf. It doesn't matter whether it's in diet. It's you have to understand that you are on a journey and you can get better. I know that I'm pretty convinced that, everything tells me that I'm doing the right thing now. Everything's improved. I feel like a completely different person. My sleep patterns improved. My energy levels have improved. When I walk up a hill, it feels very different now. All these things, when I exercise, it feels different. When I go out in the garden and do manual work or something, it just feels different. I feel like a different person. But I'm also aware that this is a journey and I'm going to have bad days, good days, and I still have to keep learning. I think that's something that's very important. That, I would say if I was sitting down with Dr. Berry and Dr. Shafee, and what I admire about them probably the most, in actual fact, is the fact that they are not sitting there saying, I know everything, I know it all, I'm right. They just don't do that. And that's where, now, if I'm honest, I might as well say this. This is where I'd say a huge difference between veganism and carnivorism is that these vegans, they sit there, they're right, they know everything, they've got it all. And that is, as soon as that comes out of somebody's mouth, whether it's regarding, as I say, regarding golf again, or whether it's regarding um, diet, I know that somebody's on the wrong journey because that's so not true. And I know I can see it straight away with people like, as I say, Dr. Berry and Dr. Shafee. They're not saying that. They're saying that we're onto something. Yes, we're onto something. Carnivore is great. And that's great. They are right on that. But they're also saying that really we're at the start of a journey. Really, if humans actually got onto something and said, look, how do we really feed our bodies in the most effective way, we're going to potentially find all kinds of things. Now, I would say it's almost certain that we're not going to go back into veganism. I think it's pretty certain that we're going to need a good portion of meat. I think that's pretty sure, and I'm pretty convinced of that now, and red meat at that. But have we got it absolutely perfect? Are we doing everything absolutely perfectly? Of course we're not. There's a million different things that we can still be looking at, and we should all consider that we're on a journey. I mean, I'm drinking coffee now. Should I be drinking coffee? Well, probably not. I probably shouldn't be. I should be potentially looking to cut that out. All kinds of things. Do I eat grass-fed beef? Do I go to the supermarket? What do I do? All these things. Do I eat too much? How much fasting should I be doing? Should I introduce some fermented vegetables? all these things we could be doing. Just consider that we are on a journey, and there's always going to be opportunities to learn more. And I'm certainly, I think, through my experiences in life, and I think, I'm somebody who's probably failed a lot, done all sorts of things wrong, both in my work life and my diet. And but I would say that I'm lucky enough, and I don't feel bitter and angry, and I'm just lucky enough to say, actually, this has really taught me some really valuable lessons. And I admire yourself, Dave, because you've learned. You've actually learned. Things have gone wrong for you, as I know, and but you've learned. You've actually not just blindly followed some ridiculous narrative that we now know is a ridiculous narrative, and you've learned. And I feel privileged to have done that in both my work life and in my health. To and of course, it would be plain irresponsible. And as I say, I admire you again for doing this, but it's be plain irresponsible if you just said, well, I've learned, I've got this all for myself. I'm not going to tell anybody else about this. And thanks very much. I'll see you later. That's just plain irresponsible, selfish, and daft. Plain daft. Why wouldn't you do that? And I think anybody, as I say, like yourself, Dr. Shafee, Dr. Berry, for me, those guys are heroes, and they deserve everything that they get. And I think, yeah, thanks to you, Dave, I'm going to say that you are brave enough to get out there and try and share these kind of messages, great messages, people that you're changing people's lives, and with getting your message out there. I know that a lot of work, because I do it, a lot of it myself, but I know there's a lot of background work that goes into it, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of trying to get a message out there that actually you've changed a lot of people's lives just doing this. So fair play to you.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say. In terms of your journey, I know like people are going to be, quite surprised that you've had the health issues, you've had like heart problems, and you're doing very well. Like the common narrative is, that this is the heart disease diet, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you're doing so well is going to be a surprise to certainly skeptics. But could you maybe talk a little bit about what you're eating day to day and how you're managing your diet?
Actually, one thing I didn't say, yeah, I will, Dave. One thing that I didn't say, I should say, is that doctors and my cardiologist, I was on a cocktail of drugs that they told me I'd have to take for the rest of my life. Now, recently, or fairly relatively recently, I've spoken to these doctors and said, look, my whole body makeup, the whole of my physiology of my body is completely changed. I'm not the same person I was. I can feel it 10 months down the road. I'm a completely different person. We need to review these drugs. They said, and they flatly turned around to me and said, you're on these drugs for the rest of your life. That's what they said. And now I'm probably 3 months down the road now. I haven't taken these drugs. I'm completely drug free. I don't take them. And I feel fine. Actually, no different whatsoever. This is a story. But what I eat every day, which I should say, I'm still working on. It is a journey for me. I still don't think I've got it as good as I could do. But I'd certainly get up in the morning because of my schedule. I tend to eat. Well, I get up, as you know, about 4:15 in the morning. That's when I generally 4:15 in the morning is when I get up. So I might have some breakfast round about, let's say, on a usual basis. I'm a bit all over the place, so I can't say there's anything consistent. But um, it's very likely that I'll have something like scrambled egg and bacon at 9 o'clock, and then I will try and go through the whole day if I can without eating. I might have an egg, something like that. Something like that. Maybe round about 12. That can happen, but I don't generally eat much more than that. And then I'll wait until we eat very early in the evening because we go to bed very early. So we'll eat around about 4:30, and we eat pretty much the same thing every day. We'll have actually what we've found that's good for us is we'll eat braising steak and we cook it like a steak because it's cheaper. That's all. And we found another steak the other day, which I think it's called chuck steak. Is that right? I think that's what it's called. It was great. That was really good, and as I say, a bit cheaper, and it's got plenty of fat in it. It's not, it's not, which is important as we've learned in the carnivore diet, and we're likely to eat that with, say, some pork belly or some what are they called, lamb ribs or something like that, lamb rib things, and that's what we eat. That's it. And we generally don't eat anything more than that in a day. It's quite a lot of food. It sounds like, oh, we're starving ourselves. It's we have big portions. We're talking about a lot of food here. And one of my actually concerns, I still don't know. Do I eat too much? Do I eat too little? Do I eat? All these things are things that we're trying to weigh up. And of course, I'm trying to sort out my acid reflux problem with my hiatus hernia. So I'm trying to work out exact. So I'm still on that journey. I wouldn't say always got it perfect yet, but I'm certainly on a journey that I can trust. I trust. I think what's very clear for me, and it's very easy for me to trust. I trust Dr. Berry, and I trust Dr. Shafee for the simple reason it's very clear to me that it's almost like you've stopped yourself from being hypnotized and you started thinking for yourself. It's that, and having had to do it myself within the golfing world, which is my business. It's very obvious. You recognize somebody else who's actually been able to think for themselves. They're I think most of us are so blinkered and following everybody else like sheep and just not able to think for ourselves. You recognize straight away when somebody has been able to think for themselves. So I trust these guys way more than I would trust anybody else.
Mm.
And I admire them. Well, I admire them greatly. I couldn't say strong enough words for these people because I know how hard it is. If I'm being honest, and I would like to say this is it isn't fun. It isn't great to become enlightened and to watch. These guys were doctors and they had to kind of leave the safe environment of being a doctor. That's safe. They all bunch together. Oh, we believe this. Yeah, give them chemotherapy, give them these drugs, and they leave that safe environment and they start thinking for themselves. They went, I don't think this is great. We're just giving people drugs. We're treating the symptoms. We're not understanding why we're getting these diseases in the first place. And they've started to think for themselves and work a much better way. Now, I can tell you now that I know what it feels like where these doctors will go, oh, he's crazy, hence crazy golf pro. That's what they'll do straight away. If you start thinking for yourself and you leave the comfort of the pack, the sheep, is they'll say, oh, look at him, he's crazy. He's decided to think for himself. God, you know, oh, you've decided to think for yourself, so that makes you crazy. Brilliant, well done, good solution there. It's a daft thing. So I know how difficult that is, and it's not fun. Anybody thinks it's fun, it's not. It's not. I don't like disagreeing with anybody else. I'd love to be able to say, yes, you're right. Oh, yes, you're right. But of course, they're just plain not. They're not right. and I can't pander to them any longer. Whether they think I'm crazy, whether they think I'm eccentric, whatever they think of me, I cannot, you know, I've had best friends that I've had to walk away from, and a few of them because I can't pander to their thinking anymore. And of course, it clashes. You can't do it. You can't, it's very sad. It really is. But, and that's why I said these guys are brave. It is because you have to walk away and you're thinking independently and nobody likes it. They want you to, they try to bring you back all the time. I feel it all the time. Oh God, you can't do that. Oh dear, you can't do it. Well, I can. I kind of can. Will you stop trying
Mm.
to, stop trying to pull me back into the pack? You can,
Yeah.
you can do these things.
Yeah. So if someone comes to you and says, look, I want to start carnivore, what advice would you give them to get started so that they have the best chance of success doing carnivore?
Well, it's simple. I mean, I would say, funnily enough, my mum's 92 and she's turning more and more into a carnivore now. She's sort of started gently and she's doing it. Um, it is so simple. It's the easiest diet in the world. I mean, it's not very difficult, is it? It's like, well, what can I eat? Eat meat. Well, what about bread? No, you just eat meat. What about vegetables? No, you just eat meat. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? You go to the shops, you buy some meat, and you eat it. It's very simple. Beef is probably best. What do they say? This is where I'm not very good. Ruminant meat. Is that,
Ruminant meat, yeah.
yeah,
Like
ruminant
beef,
meat is
lamb.
yeah, lamb and beef is in an ideal world is what you'd be eating. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I eat the bacon in the morning. Yes, I do. It's not ideal. It's not perfection. But you don't have to be necessarily perfect. You're in a journey. You're in a journey of learning. You're trying to get your body into ketosis, which is an optimal thing. And of course, there's stress, I should say. We're trying to cut the stress out and all these kinds of things. But it's a very, very simple thing to do. You just cut out all the processed foods, all the vegetables, all the fruits. You don't need them. I mean, oh my God, we're in this narrative. I mean, there's a classic. Oh my God, you can't cut out fruit. You need your vitamin C. Well, actually, you don't when you're on a carnivore diet. You do not need to eat fruit. You just don't. I'm not saying that maybe one day we'll find out, or perhaps it's a good idea to eat some fruit, but you don't because you don't need vitamin C. It's a very different kind of, you're changing the narrative completely. So it's the simplest diet in the world. You don't really have to. You just eat till you're full, and that's it. And try to potentially cut it down. I think you eat one meal a day, don't you, Dave? Do you eat one?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. You see, I can't do that. I find I struggle with that. I don't know whether that means that I'm doing wrong or whether that's what I should aspire to do. I don't know at this stage.
I think it's just I think it's just the way your hunger cues work and the volume that you've eaten and all that kind of thing. Like I've got days where I'll have 2 meals a day, and I
Yeah.
just respond to the way my body's feeling. And if it's like I feel a bit peckish and it's the afternoon or whatever, I'll just go and make more beef or something.
Yeah. How much do you eat in one meal? Just curiosity.
About 600 grams of ground beef.
Yeah.
So what's that? About a pound or so of ground beef,
Yeah.
and then 6 to 8 eggs,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
that's it. And lots of salt. Liberal lashings of salt.
Yeah. I didn't.
Yes.
I don't worry about salt at all anymore. I mean, I have plenty of salt, but I probably eat more than you do. But I mean, it is a concern of mine to certainly, am I eating too much? Yes. I asked that question on one of the carnivore chats actually the other day. And it's a difficult thing. I could be, it's possible. I don't know. I find I'm quite a hungry person. I've always eaten a lot, my whole life. But, is this somewhere I could improve? Maybe, I've got to understand that, as like I said, it's a journey and you're learning all the time. And I'm certainly
Mm.
somebody who's prepared to learn.
So, Richard, how can people reach out to you? Do you have a website or a YouTube channel?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel. It's called the Crazy Golf Pro. That's the YouTube channel, and we're also trying to. It's very similar to the carnivore journey, because it is something. Like I said, it's we're all on a journey. We're all trying to learn, and there's lots more. It's like if you start to understand, as we are in carnivore, we're at the start of a journey. And so what I've done is I'm creating a community on Facebook at the moment. It's called the Crazy Golf Community, and there's a link on my videos, and you can join us on Facebook as well. And it's a private group, and we talk amongst each other, and we're trying to help each other on a journey, very much the same, about how we're getting out of the narrative. We're trying to lose what we've done, the unproductive ways that we've done for many years, exactly the same as in the diet, and we're trying to get into a narrative that's far more productive, where people can really flourish, exactly as the same as what we should be doing in our health. It's the same identical journey, I would say.
Nice. Well, I'll link to those in the show notes. And Richard, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure, Dave, and well done to you. And for doing this, I think as I said, I admire you, and I want to thank you for doing it. You're changing people's lives for the better, and you need to know that it's very important. And please keep doing it. And the same to Dr. Berry and Dr. Shafee. Thank you very much. That's it.